good morning, and first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you to the Saudi Water Authority for putting on a dynamic event. I travel all over the world. This is my first time here, and this is fantastic. And also, just thank you to everybody that's been so cordial and pleasant and helpful here in the kingdom. So we're talking this morning, kind of a little departure from yesterday in terms of we talked about the regulatory pull of the market and finding synergies within that. In North America, we're really, from our perspective, talking about how do we build up the bench of ecosystem, the bench of early stage technologies. Water's been sorely missing from this perspective. If I have a mobility app, I have an AI app, et cetera, I know where to go to get that from idea, from lab to market. For water, it's always been a challenge. I mean, there's a great history of big companies like GE Water and others who have become holding companies and didn't figure this equation of how to get technologies into the market fast, quickly, efficiently, and with proper funding at the right time. So at the Cleveland Water Alliance, we have taken this approach on how do we accelerate that time to market. So we're a water cluster, innovation cluster, 150 plus multinational global companies working with us, over 35 water utilities. We're based in the Great Lakes region of North America. This is fascinating for me because we sit on 21% of the world's fresh surface water supply. So we have, in some ways, different challenges, but in some ways, very similar challenges. Research universities, kind of missing in this equation often. We work with over 23 what we call Research One. This is the top level research companies that are names that some of you may know, from Stanford through to University of Chicago to the University of Michigan. Federal partners. We work with our federal government extensively, from the Department of Energy, that Water Energy Nexus, from NOAA, and then also with global accelerators. I know some of them are here today. I was just in the green room with Hein from the Water Campus and the Water Alliance in the Netherlands. So we package that ecosystem together and bring it to be more efficient for getting early technologies proven, trialed. So, we do this through key programs. First is our Smart Lake Erie Watershed. This is 20,000 square kilometers of telemetry coverage, just like a smart city. We've done the same thing. So it could be Korea, it could be Singapore, it could be Saudi Arabia. $18 deployments just this year in our test beds. And we've had 83 pilots of these early stage technologies just over the last 4 years. So really, what we've built here is a global destination. Companies are coming from all over the globe to test and trial their technologies within our set of test beds. And of course, our partners include the utilities, industrials, data centers, a big play for us right now. We have quite a few. We have a new Intel chip factory coming in, so we're helping them around water, food, beverage, residential, ag, doing a lot of work around nutrient loadings. And then no big shock here after that last panel, the fact that 60% of our deal flow is digital in some way, shape, or form. A lot of that's going to be around the sensors, and a lot of data services as a play. So as mentioned, we do this through our test beds, establishing trials. And we do this with utilities, we do this with industrial partners. And we've put a little over 20 million just into that infrastructure to test. Significantly, at one point had tripled in price. Also, it became a supply chain headache. It was just hard to get. You've got to have a certain, numbers of days and months supply. And where we are 3 years ago, we had a major derailment of chlorine on the back of a tanker on a train. So it's just like perfect storm of, on one hand, we had our utilities saying, there's got to be a better way. On the other hand, we had a company coming to us saying, we have a new technology, a new solution for this. So that led us, and this is just an example of how companies will play and engage with us as our ecosystem building to get their product into the market. So, Techwin came to us out of both Daegu and Seoul, South Korea, and had a solution. And the idea of high concentration. Number 3 was huge for us. Strong economics, very strong economics. Ultimately, it's going to be cheaper. In fact, so much cheaper and such high concentrate that in the case of the utility we chose here, Avon Lake Regional Water, it became a profit center, which was fascinating to us because they were generating more hypo than they needed, and they could offload it to other utilities as well as industrials, including a Ford motor plant. Also cool, the source for electrochemical process here is salt. it, but we're not going to build these in Korea and ship them to you. Can you find us a manufacturer to build them for the North America market? So a lot of kind of really interesting opportunities there. So look, when somebody comes to our test beds, probably 80% of them are plug and play. We can vet them, we can do our due diligence, we can deploy them and get them. Opportunity, you know, it warranted coming, speaking, talking with them. I traveled to South Korea. Contract between us happened fairly quickly. And then finding a utility that was willing to trial this, to take on this risk. Now, remember, when we talk about a utility taking on risk, we de-risk that for them. We take on the risk as a, and I won't bore you too much with a charter status in the United States for a nonprofit. We're not a for-profit unless we have no assets. So for us to take a risk is, for lack of a better term, risk-free. You know, nobody's going to sue us. But we also, of course, layer that with lots of insurance, 6 different policies ranging from Lloyd's of London on down. That gives that comfort level to these utilities to trial this. Then also with Avon Lake, it was a perfect time because they were doing a design build of their facility in which to double the amount of water. That's our biggest challenge now is the infrastructure. The infrastructure to supply the water demands within our communities, of course, led by data centers, led by advanced manufacturing, which is another strong suit for us. So with that in mind, we got everything inked and we started building this and we turned this project on just a couple months ago. So it's working, but I just wanted you to see when we talk about testing and trialing technologies, what we're really talking about here is things can be fast, quick, and easy, and also things that are complex. But keep this in mind. This would be my one of my couple takeaways is we got the product to the market faster, more efficiently, and more quickly. And you know, another good example is a data play where we actually got this company from trialing in our test beds to being acquired by a much larger company in 18 months. Go back a decade and tell me a water technology solution that got into the market and actually got bought out within 18 months. Now suddenly we're talking about the idea of access to capital and capital coming in to really drive the market, to improve the market, to bring all of our utility partners better solutions. So just a couple images. You know, this is the Techwin project in Avon Lake. Bottom left is, you know, before it left their facility in Korea, and up top and to the right, you can actually see it where it's been deployed. Eventually, this will have a whole structure built over it, but everybody was excited to get it up and running. And again, takeaways, legal instruments, insurance, trusted partners, making sure the market is ready for this. The market is going to adopt it. If it's not a regulatory pull, is the market going to be ready for the push? And of course, economics often have a lot to do with that, and problem solving. Patience, time is always a must. And we always ask this question, if not but for. So if not but for us, would that project have gotten deployed in North America? Maybe, but probably not, and nowhere near in terms of the timeline. So I'm going to wrap up by saying, you know, with this, we also add in business hoteling space. So, you know, that's our location there, and it just shows you how companies come in. We have companies from Singapore, from a great semiconductor-based optical sensor company, also out of Korea, several companies out of Europe located there right now. And of course, the Freshwater Innovation Fund. Always keep that in mind. The first dollar is the hardest dollar within the water ecosystem. You know, so that $500,000 US dollar check or that $1 million US dollar check is the hardest one. The 20 million, I can get them. It's the first one. So with that, I want to wrap up. Just again, thank you. It's also good to see a few of you that I met at WEFTech a couple months ago in Chicago, and we always welcome your visits, and we'd love to host you. Thank you very much.